Michael, we were at PAX West 2019, and we just got to play Link's Awakening, the remake coming to Nintendo Switch later this month. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cute.
After getting actually playing it, it's that classic 2D Zelda vibe, as you would expect, because Link's Awakening. This is a full-on remake of that original Game Boy game, but of course with a much more modern art style, or well, with a cutesy art style, I would say. I think this game has a lot of charm to it. Just by the looks of it, if you especially for those who may have only played modern Zeldas, the 3D ones, especially Breath of the Wild, that's a very different thing. I think this is going to be a real treat for those who haven't experienced a 2D top-down Zelda, and it's a real pleasure to play.
Yeah, and even people who there's a huge following for this game. People love this game. This is like the cult classic of Zelda games, I'd say, just because it's so weird.
Yeah.
Like we go into a 2D section where there's a piranha plant. But once again, that's pretty standard fare because we were playing the key cavern, which they haven't shown off before. But, if you've played the original, it'll be very familiar. And one thing they pointed out to us is that all of the dungeons in this game are one-to-one recreations of the original. So even though it looks much prettier and cute, if you played the Link's Awakening on Game Boy recently, or 3DS, whatever you're playing it on, it would be very familiar.
Even though this is a recreation of the old Game Boy game, it still feels fresh to me for some reason. Like the way they do puzzles and some of the powers and how they manifest as solutions for the things that you need to do is that's still there. I mean, I think that's kind of why 2D Zeldas are timeless, is because all the clever ways that they create dungeons and have different conditions to defeat enemies. Like there's just a lot of neat challenges throughout these dungeons. Just because this is a remake of an old game doesn't mean it's simple.
Is it weird going back to a 2D Zelda after playing a lot of Breath of the Wild?
The first few minutes it did feel a little strange, like, oh, I haven't engaged with this sort of style in a while. But once you get your bearings, it's you kind of, I remember what it was like to play A Link to the Past and other 2D top-down Zelda games, and it's refreshing.
It's kind of nice fighting bosses like this again, after Breath of the Wild, where there were some weapons in Breath of the Wild you had to use to take down certain bosses that would make it easier to take out certain enemies, but having bosses with basically puzzle bosses with a very specific way to beat them is a lot of fun. Granted, this guy wasn't too tough.
Yeah.
Like you said, we did it our first try. However, I think I did get pretty close.
Yeah, it's once you figure out the ways to beat the boss, then it's kind of obviously you do what you need to do, but getting there is a whole nother thing. Especially here when the two pieces jump up and stun you if you don't jump before they hit the ground. That was a neat touch in there to make you think about more variables within this game. You're not just slashing, you're not just throwing bombs.
Yeah,
so,
they can trip you up too, because the first one comes down pretty easy to avoid, but if you don't make the jump, you're gonna get stunned and then crushed. And I even made that jump, but I still got crushed by that thing.
Yeah, look, you have less than 2 hearts right there by the end, so Link's Awakening isn't playing around.
Anyway, that's what we saw of the Link's Awakening remake. It comes to Nintendo Switch on September 20th, and for more PAX stuff, stay tuned to GameSpot.